just before we go further into this conversation of spending and
I know, it's interesting, right? Good morning to all our viewers. I know that people watching us on channel 372 in Kenya as well. Habari in the morning, right? For all our Tanzanian speakers and for the French speakers. Bonjour tout le monde, j'espère que vous êtes très bien. C'est moment. We have a lot that we're going to be discussing this morning, such interesting topics, and you've just mentioned we're getting towards the end of the year and the month is running quite quickly. It's already October the 20th. So we're having a really hot topic in regards to this. You know, this is the period where people start to travel, where our tourism becomes heightened. People are planning to travel to Mauritius, to Dubai. Others are planning to come in, and we're having more and more international tourists coming into the country. And that's why the conversation today is very important, considering following up with the attack that happened on the foreigner here in Uganda, a tourist. So it's something we want to see. We're talking about conservation of tourism in Uganda and how that can affect the economy. How can you have the conversation around conservation? The conversation around conservation is really what we're going to talk about regarding tourism today, and many more topics surrounding that. And let's see how that goes.
Well, of course, concerning that very topic about the actually it was a Ugandan, a UK citizen, and of course South African. Well, given the fact, I think this is one of the targeted audiences, probably because, I mean, it's end of year, people are, want to spend little money, there and there. But of course, you have to note that this is causing a lot of insecurity, much as the government entities responsible for this came up and said, you know what, it's okay, you can go and visit, it's okay, it's just an accident, trust me.
Yes. I am hoping that the government entities are going to change the narrative around this and make sure that the marketing surrounding the safety is important, because once people hear it's unsafe, especially in times where we're hearing Gaza, Palestine, we're hearing all these things, people are more afraid to travel, because as soon as they hear any ounce of insecurity in a place, now we've seen a UK citizen has been attacked, they're going to blow it up. Anyone that hears a whiff of this is going to blow it up even more in the international news and say, oh, it's completely unsafe in Uganda. So it's something that, of course, the narrative has to completely shift. I don't know what the marketing for the tourist board has to do, but they have to either put really great incentives for our tourist places. They have to really push domestic tourism. I've screamed and I've screamed this since I started on this station about how promoting our domestic tourists, we need to get better deals. They need to change the narrative so people feel like, okay, I may not be safe, but there's a really good deal. There's a really good offer. And it was just one incident. I don't think it happens all the time. So that narrative has to completely shift. And as you know, Mercy, Uganda is rich in biodiversity. One of the things that we're known for is a slew of biodiversity in terms of tourism. We have so many things that we can visit, right? So many places to go, from the waters to the parks, to the animals, to the trees, to the nature, to the environment. We are completely rich. I mean, we are the pearl of Africa. To the food, right? So in what ways can we start, especially concerning the conversation around conservation?
Conservation.
What are some of the things we can...
Balancing conservation, wildlife conservation, and of course tourism. First of all, I think they have to tighten security. Much as I don't think there has to be one like car going to the park and only one. It's high, it's risky. Just imagine like all of them were attacked. Who communicated? It's
interesting, right? We definitely have to tighten that security, and obviously our infrastructure to these parks has to be much better. We have to have more access roads going to these places. You're right, cameras by the roads in and out. These are the measures they have to put in place so that the people feel safer. Because even the locals, myself, are going to be like, wait, I'm going to go visit with all this money at the end of the year that I have saved up all year with my family. I'm going to go in looking like I have money. Even our own locals will be like...
And of course, with the recent, threats of the bombs, detonating different bombs here and there, so definitely people are worried.
They are, and we're here to provide a smart means business. We know we predict the weather, as we always say. One of the solutions I am looking for us to start to provide is provide more jobs for the local tourists. We talked about last week how a young boy is just 6 years old.
Oh yeah.
Is a little local tourist and is making money that is taking care of his family. He's taking care of his people.
Yeah.
Because one of the reasons why there's attacks on these locals, they're probably feeling unsafe. They're probably, I mean, financially unsafe, if that makes sense. Financially insecure. They're thinking, listen, these guys are coming up with all these parks in our areas. We talked about yesterday how the oil rigs are being placed in areas, but a lot of the locals in those areas for the oil rigs are not being compensated. They're not properly being compensated. So we're thinking about the locals in these areas, who you can hire as tour guides, who you can hire as people that are serving at the restaurant in these little game parks, right? People that you can start to hire locally, because I'm probably thinking some of these locals are thinking, you guys are creating all these parks in our area, there's nothing for us, why are these local internationals coming? You know, people are frustrated.
For someone could be like, how did those people get into the park?
Yes.
How? That means there is free entry and exit.
I mean, these are the very locals in the area, so they're very familiar with the area space. They're very familiar with the navigation of the area, right? So I'm wanting to find out what is causing this kind of frustration, because it's not the first attack. Let's be honest. It was an attack that in Uganda for a tourist, an international tourist. But there are isolated incidents so far that have been reported, but we know that it's not the very first attack. So we're trying to find out what is the issue that's happening. Either people are frustrated, they don't have jobs, they're attacking this person, they're looking at him and they're frustrated, you're coming into that place, either they want money or they're trying to loot and steal. So there's not enough opportunities provided for the locals, I believe, and nothing excuses any attack on anyone. As you've mentioned, measures in terms of tightening security around these national parks, considering that we're moving to December, we're already in travel month, guys. People are already traveling.
But some are coming in.
October is basically done.
It's done.
Tomorrow is the 20th of October. So guys have already paid up their tickets. Those who are smart have already paid up for tickets. People are already traveling into the country. People are already taking their leave internationally. People are already coming into the country. So we're going to see more and more of these instances. So what is something that we can do in terms of conserving our tourism? The ectotourism is one of the examples I can provide for conservation. As opposed to focusing on just building lodges, how about we focus on really protecting and conserving our forests? So for our bird watching, we need to focus on ectotourism, where tourism that is centered on the environment, right? In terms of that biotourism, in terms of things like bird watching, gorilla trekking, right? Environmental watch, swimming, all these things that allow us to conserve the environment is one of the things that we can do to be able to push for the conservation of our tourism here.
But anyway, given the fact that Kasese is, recently has over the last, 3 months, 4 months, has been not safe, with the attacks, the ADF terror attacks, much as they're saying it's okay, but I don't think it's really safe, even for the people that, even the locals, leave alone tourism itself, the people surrounding those tourists, those areas.
I mean, that's why one of the solutions, you're right, one of the solutions they're talking about providing is involving the local communities, involve them in the security measures like we normally do here.
If you see someone,
if you see something, say something, or incentivize them and say, if you see any suspicious activity, inform this person.
Or maybe they're scared. I don't know.
You will be that's what I'm saying. Compensation. Compensate these locals, because they're also looking and saying, you guys, why should we involve you when there's nothing for us? This was our land. We've grown up here all our lives. You guys are just creating more and more game parks. You're creating more and more lodges that are slowly pushing us out of the area. So involve the local communities. Hire them for these jobs. Hire them as also local measure security. Say something. Do something. The neighborhood watch is what needs to be involved, right? And then, of course, the Uganda Wildlife Authority has implemented a number of strategies to balance conservation and tourism, and some of these include establishing protected areas such as national parks and wildlife reserves to conserve the biodiversity. And we're also seeing they are also developing and managing ectotourism activities. As I mentioned earlier, this is things I talked about. Bird watching is one of those examples of ectotourism. Gorilla trekking, those are examples of ectotourism, right? And then we're seeing working with local communities to promote sustainable tourism practices. So involve these local communities. Just because you come with your international money, with your big money, do not ignore the local communities. They are going to bolster the tourism in everywhere because they understand the landscape. They understand the area very well. They understand the people. They understand understand the culture of the area. So when you involve them, they might even tell you more than you realize.
Oh, yeah.
Right? They'll tell you, that area there, be careful. This, whatever, because they've been there. So if you don't involve them, it's literally excluding a whole community of people that could help.
Anyway, Godwin, you know, when is Nyege Nyege? I think Nyege Nyege is coming in.
But yeah, they haven't really advertised as much this year. I haven't seen many adverts on Nyege Nyege.
Yes, but it's gonna take place
This year?
Yeah.
Okay, it's possibly December?
Probably it's December. So like these huge festives, these huge celebrated festivals that we have in Uganda and blah, blah, blah. So not only in Uganda, maybe it could be in Kenya, maybe this time round, nobody knows. But then we have to make sure that these are the targeted audiences.
Especially people converging in such a big crowd, right? That's an interesting thing, because Nyege Nyege historically has been one of the things that has been promoting a lot of
tourism.
Domestic tourism as well, because we're finding a lot of people from East Africa coming into the area. So not just international, but also local international, if that's a word, where we have Kenyans, Tanzanians, Rwandans, you know, all coming together to come and visit us at Nyege Nyege. So we need to have enough protections.
And you realize, by the way, at such festivals, there is recklessness. You know, at the end of the day, there was maybe like maybe security is not that much. People are reckless. They go in the bushes and
people
someone
also reckless
disappears
with their materials. They throw rubbish everywhere. They do stuff here. They don't care about the environment, which is a very important point you mentioned. They're saying in this article, educating tourists about the importance of conservation is also important. So as they're coming here, don't just throw your bottles into Lake Victoria. Don't just throw a bunch of things. Understand the importance of preserving the area that you're coming to visit. So now, according to the article, we're looking at the impact of the recent attack of the tourists by locals on the tourism economy in Uganda. So we're seeing here, this recent attack of tourists by locals in Uganda is a serious concern for the tourism industry. So the attack has damaged Uganda's reputation as a safe and welcoming destination. Can you imagine? And it could lead to decline in the tourist arrivals.
Oh yeah.
So also saying the tourism industry is a major contributor to the Ugandan economy, generating billions of dollars in revenue each year. The industry also creates jobs and supports local businesses, obviously. A decline in tourist arrivals could have a significant impact on the Ugandan economy.
It's very funny how UK has already warned its citizens.
Right, they're telling you, be careful, some of the tourist destinations, this is where highlight. And you know the UK doesn't play with those highlights, because historically it's because of the UK that we've been highlighted about the different terrorist attacks. They're always on top of their game in terms of knowing and alerting us. So that we're seeing, of course, a number of things are being done, but one of the things that needs to be done is reassure the tourists, assure them that it's safe. This is an isolated incident. It's not something that happens often. Because if you just let it slide and say, it's okay, it's one incident, propaganda is going to spread. You know, bad news spreads faster than good news sometimes, right? So we need to reassure the marketing surrounding the tourism industry has to completely change. So we're going to talk about this conversation regarding tourism and the conservation conversation all day today, all morning. So please chime in the conversation on our Twitter pages, on our Facebook page. Please, let's continue this conversation. But for now, I believe we're getting into the press release.
Well, and of course, you know, like we've been discussing tourism and security in Uganda, making headlines, security lapses in attack on tourists. And of course, Kasese locals living in fear of renowned armed conflict as ADF terror attacks mount inside Uganda from across the long and porous border of the DRC. And of course, here in still, Museveni explains ADF attack. And of course, it is reported that these tourists were actually on honeymoon. These two gentlemen.
It's so sad to be attacked on your honeymoon.
Oh,
you
my
weren't even having any bad intentions at all. That's quite sad. And still the conversation in the New Vision, I think everyone is talking about the same thing. And I'm glad. This is what we need to do, is address it head on. So we're seeing Museveni assures tourists on security. Please, you better assure them and give them a really good incentive, because it's more than safety to people. People rather be safe than have a good deal.
Yeah.
You get it? They'd rather be alive than get a really good deal. So really that extra self-assurance, and I'm glad in all the papers it's definitely showcasing in the New Vision and the Monitor. So we need to have that conversation continue.
Mulago detained detained 7 mothers over bills. And of course, some of the mothers said that they had been under detention since October the 11th. Mulago Specialized Women and Neonatal Hospital, an allegation which the hospital management denied.
Interesting, right?
Being a government
So we're also saying, because we're continuing the conversation around tourism and how it affects the economy right now, I want to get into it a little bit here. It says in New Vision, tourist attack terrorists will pay with their lives, says Museveni. That's a strong word that he's put out there. He says, President Yoweri Museveni has condemned the Tuesday attack by suspected Allied Democratic Forces, apparently ADF, right? Terrorists. The attack led to the death of 2 tourists and a tour guide. The president vowed that the tourists would pay for their actions with their own wretched lives. It quotes. Wretched. He said in his statement posted on X, formerly Twitter, Museveni said the attack was carried out by a small group of terrorists who are running away from Operation Shuja operations. So on October 17th, we had a most unfortunate and infuriating incident in Queen Elizabeth National Park. A couple of tourists and a Ugandan driver were killed at around 6 p.m. on the Katwe Kawatoro Muriam Road by a small group of terrorists running away from their operations in DRC Congo. So we're saying that this is also a terrorist attack, it's not just a local attack, as we look into more of this conversation, because the conservation conversation, we're going to continue to have it, but Museveni reassures people that these attacks are going to be taken care of, and we know when Museveni says that, at least when it comes to security, he's at the top of his game, so we believe that.
Trust me, if you want to know more about tourism and of course how they're now thinking of ways to tighten their security, here, get yourself a copy of Daily Monitor, get yourself a copy of a New Vision.
Yes.
I'm seeing a tourism sector out to regroup from setback. And of course, everyone is like, we have to now enforce double our security.
Because you know what I like? Okay, this is an unfortunate event, but what I like about what's going to happen is now they have to pivot and see ways in which they can really focus on promoting tourism again. Because I think they had looked back and said, people will just come. Because last year we made a lot of money from COVID. Actually, our numbers have gone up from 2021, our tourist numbers from 2021 to 2023. The numbers have definitely increased, but now we're going to see a more watchful eye around our tourist sector, where there's more investment in security, there's more investment in tourist destinations. We need that to happen. In other news, we're seeing UAE investors eye oil exploration that's going to happen here in Uganda. As we're seeing here that investors from the United Arab Emirates, UAE, have expressed interest in investing in the oil refinery project in Kabale Industrial Park, which is part of the oil exploration sector in Bunyoro sub-region. So we're seeing a delegation led by Rashid Al Buloshi, the Under-Secretary of the Abu Dhabi Department for Business Development, during their 5-day visit to Uganda, made several field visits, include tour of Kabalega International Airport. Interesting.
Well, of course, government issues new rules to curb absenteeism and low output by doctors. However much they're thinking of, increasing the salary and all that. Definitely, there is a lot of absenteeisms. Do not turn up where they are required. They come once in a week. So, what is it there for the citizens? Well, right about now we are getting into the traffic updates. And of course, today being a Thursday, definitely people are, busy. It's a busy day for Ugandans. It's almost end of the month, so definitely have to work yourself off. And of course, we are at Fairway. We're at Fairway, right about there, just below the golf course. Well, the IPO sign there. Of course, those that are coming in from that side, Seziba Road, from Bukoto, Tinda.
It's interesting because there's a bit of jam this morning, and it's not even 7:30. Because even as I was coming, I was stuck in a bit of jam coming from the side of getting from, because I stay in Mienga side, coming from Mienga, moved through Green Hill area, through Access Road. There was a bit of jam, surprisingly, and remember I get to work, I have to be at work by 6:50 or 7. So there was already jam at that time. So there must be something that's happening. I don't know what the events are today, or maybe because it's almost the last day of the week. It's Thursday, so Friday we're going to pack it up. And you know, anyway, towards the end of the years, you know, people are trying to finalize and do their bookkeeping. Some people already have their holidays mapped out. So October is like their last month for the year. So we're seeing that jump happening. So of course, there's a bit of movement happening around this fairway area, but there's still a bit of stagnation that's happening, which is odd because around this stagnation normally tends to happen towards 7:40 or 8, right?
Yeah.
But we're seeing the stagnation happening right at 7:22 a.m. Meaning my predictions are by 7:48 it might be even more.
Yeah.
It's more stacked.
Those that are coming in from Wandegea, Mulago, all the way from, could be Bombo or wherever you're coming in from. I think traffic is not that heavy, like the lights. It's just
it's latent, which means that it's about to become heavy. It has that movement because normally at this time it's moving smoothly along this road, right? Especially for a Thursday, sort of Friday or a Monday. So we're seeing that, of course, the roads going that side towards Mulago area, towards Nankulabe. The road is smooth heading. That's the road coming. You find a little bit of a stop as you get to the fairway access, the fairway roundabout there, where you're going to turn off, obviously.
There are not many cars actually. Not many cars go to that direction of Wandegea because people are coming, going to the city center, right? Going to the city center.
Right, because a lot of people are coming either way from Ntinda, Chira, then they all meet at the Mulago area, right? All that roundabout meets every single person. People are coming from Wandegea, all meet there. Mulago, that place is so chaotic.
It's just that when you're going back in the evening, that route going to Wandegea,
I know that route is crazy really problematic. It's one of the busiest because it's almost like the central piece of it's like a melting point.
Home destinations.
It's a melting
going
point
to Mulago,
of so many destinations.
Going to Wandegea,
and also beyond Mulago, there's places that are so all those guys are coming into this. So it's very, very interesting. Look at that. So if you're going up to Nakasero area, those that have offices, it's quite clear up there. Most people have offices there. Maybe DFC areas.
Ministries.
Ion Assurance. So it's mostly insurance companies and different ministries that are up at Nakasero area. So if you're planning to use that shortcut, but also looks like there's a bit of a stop there as you look up ahead. You can see that there's a bit of a. Normally that road is quite clear, so it looks like people are rushing to somewhere. It's either there's something we do not know. But
it's definitely working. Rush hour, rush hour. Because
so
people, you have to be at work by 8. That means you have to be 30 minutes earlier, to prepare.
Are people dropping kids to school? Or?
Oh, by the way, that could be it.
Yes, people could be dropping kids to school because the jam is on weird today. Interestingly enough. So yes, of course, in the Nakasero area, as you look up there to the hotel, it's quite clear. Is it any problem there?
Well, of course, it's 25 minutes past 7 and a.m. and of course we are still looking at traffic. But by the way, I've already told people, if you just tell your border guy, I just dropped me here so that I could take a stroll and walk, straighten my legs, so that, because some people spend the whole day seated. So how about it?
It's true. People need to start walking some more, isn't it?
Yeah, walk to work.
Yes.
Walk to work, definitely. And of course, that brings us to the end of traffic. And of course, if you're going into town, you have to know, or maybe if your working area is that side, that road, till access road, just so you know, the traffic is it's moving. Not so bad. Well, of course, don't forget that these conversations are proudly powered by Zabo, and of course, today being a Thursday, Zabo is fully operational. So if you want to invest in bond securities, Zabo says look no further. All you need to do is have your mobile phone with you, and of course use their USSD code, and that is *292#. And for the prompts, you can learn about the product. You could sell, you could buy. There's a lot Zabo has to offer for you, but investment is as low as 15,000 Ugandan shillings. That is the lowest that Zabo goes for, so you can choose to invest that or more depending on how much you want your return on investments to amount to. Well, of course, from Monday to Friday, Zabo is fully operational except for weekends and public holidays, and from 8:15 a.m. till 3:15 p.m. Zabo says, my money, my future, and they're powered by Alltex East Africa, telling you to do something new. Well, of course, just 3 minutes to 7:30. Let's go in for a break. We shall be back, but coming up is East Africa and international business news.